Yeah. Now let's look at a slightly non-formula based kind of area, which is protecting your Excel data. Right. Let's say I'll some of the queries I can try to address in this case. Or what I'll say is, yeah, on sheet 1, allow the person to modify only his date of birth, list of holidays, and yeah, only these two stuff. We have done the date of birth for calculating the age, and we have used the list of holidays for calculating the network days. So what I am saying is, on sheet 1, the person should be able to edit only those cells. Rest all cells, any cell he is trying to edit, it has to, it should prevent him from editing. That's one rule which I want. Second thing which I want is, hide the formulas for networking days and age calculations. I don't want anyone to see these formulas because these are my key formulas. I don't want anyone to watch these formulas. For that matter, I can protect all the formulas on the sheet, or just showing one or two formulas which need to be protected. So the person will not be able to know these formulas. Then the third thing I want is, hide the master sheet, which is sheet 3, and make it unhideable. Person should not be able to hide it. And the fourth layer is, protect the whole file and make it unopenable. These are these are some of the things which I can do using the protections. Right. So so typically the protection is at 3 layers when it comes to Excel. One is at a sheet, like cells in a sheet, protecting of the cells within a worksheet. Then there is another protection of sheets in a file and the entire file. These are 3 layers of protection, and 3 have to be applied, and 3 are independent. Right. I can apply. It doesn't mean that if I apply at a file level, everything, if I know the file level password, probably sheets in a file as well as cells in a sheet can be known. It's not that. If I know file level password, only file can be opened. I cannot do anything at sheets in a file. I cannot do anything at cells in a sheet unless I know the passwords for those also. So it's like a 3 layered protection. So the first two things can be done using cells in a sheet. Some cells only need to be edited, right? And the formulas of some cells should be hidden. So these are more to do with the cells in a sheet. So let me start with that. Let's say I want to protect this sheet. fully without any rule. All I can do is under the review tab I have a protection. It simply asks for a password. Give a password. Give a password. This whole sheet is protected. No one can modify anything on this sheet. This whole sheet. You simply put a password. I mean, I can modify it, modify the sheet too. No issues. Only that is applicable to sheet 1, which means every sheet can be protected separately or has to be protected separately. Now, but that's not my requirement. My requirement is I want some of the cells to be editable, right? But even in this case, if I see the network days formula is visible, I want this to be hidden. And even the age calculation, let's say these formulas are visible, I want them to be hidden. So these have to be hidden. Only these values should be entered. This values as well as probably this value. Only these need to be edited. Rest all it should not edit. Right now even this it won't allow me to edit. Right, then it's losing its credibility as an application. I mean, probably I can use it just for watching or probably take a printout. Only those are the advantages. I cannot use it as an application. But the main purpose of Excel is to give users to use it, change the input, observe the output kind of stuff. Right? So from that perspective, a simple protect sheet will not solve the purpose. So I am unprotecting it. Before I protect, I have to take care of two things. One, which all cells should be edited or editable. Which all the ones I want the user to modify. Select those cells. Let's say these are the cells I want the user to modify. What I'll do is right click on them, format cells, go to protection. By default, every cell in this workbook will have locked checked. There is a check mark on locked. What that does mean is when a password is put, it gets locked. A password will lock it. So it can be locked. That cell can be locked with a password. But the moment I remove this cell cannot be locked with a password also. So which means even after I put a password, this is modifiable. Right? So I'll remove the lock on that as well as the date of birth. I'll remove the lock. So this one, now when I put the password, these cells will be editable. Rest all will be blocked. Password is mandatory. So what it means is password will block the locked cells, will lock those cells where tick mark is there. It cannot lock those cells where tick mark is not there. Only those will be open even after a password is kept. If I don't put a password, then the whole sheet is there for editing. You can put the cursor, you can type in there, you can change the values, which means you can enter your date of birth and look at your age. Or you can add your own list of holidays. You can modify that part. Now, I don't want this formula because I think it's a good formula, so I don't want others to see it. So, this formula, I'll go to format cells and I simply do hidden. Hidden is data will not be hidden. Only the formula will be hidden after a password. Once I put a password, the formula will go into hidden mode. So until someone knows the password, even for these three also, I'll do the same thing. I'll make them hidden. So what happens is, until the other guy knows the password, he cannot know what formula I have used here. Now you do a protect sheet. Before you are doing a protection, you are doing two things. One, which all formulas you want to hide, put a hidden on them. Which all cells you want to be edited even after the password, remove the lock on them. And after that you put your password. Now you try to edit it here, it will not allow you. You modify it here. This is editable. This is editable. You got the output, right? Values got modified, but formula is not known. How did you get the value? No one knows until you give the password to others. So people can use it as an application. Probably I may sell it like, give your date of birth, will compute the age. That's the simple thing I am saying. Give your date of birth, the system will compute the age for you. But how did it compute the age? It should not be visible. So you use it as an application, but don't know the source code for it. Because once other person knows it, the core of that is lost. Especially when you write pretty lengthy formulas, create some extraordinary financial models or any Excel based model. The moment the formula is identified, there is nothing much. You have learnt everything out of it. His core business is known to you. So what the companies which are going with Excel typically do is they go with these kind of processes. Right? Probably some big V schools, they have even given me the mechanisms of writing some kind of doing some kind of analytics on their admission experience. Right? I mean, what is the criteria for admitting a person into a business school, top premier business school? So they had a big list of students, their profiles, and corresponding to that, admitted or not admitted, which was purely based on a formula. But they have asked me to do some other analytics on it. So when they had to give the data to me, they did not know that they can protect that part, and they have given that entire thing. So immediately I went back to them again and said probably they can hide off this entire stuff by doing this kind of protection, so that the formula will not be visible to me, and I can still do the post admission analytics on that. So sometimes these kind of things will protect your sensitive data to a large extent. You can still give your data to others for analysis without knowing the core. I mean, that person cannot know the core background behind it. Right? And it's very much necessary. You have to make others use the data, but at the same time, don't use some of the stuff in the sheet. So that's where the sheet level protection, cells in a sheet can be protected. Then the next thing is about protecting the sheets in a file. Like, let's say I want to hide this sheet. There is a master sheet, or probably a lot of confidential data is there in this sheet. I don't want anyone to see this confidential data, but still I want to circulate the Excel sheet to others. What I can simply do is, I can right click and hide the sheet. But the biggest problem is, you can very well unhide it. So after I hide it, I have to do a protection so that it can't be unhideable. That can be done through a protect workbook mechanism. I am protecting the structure and windows where I have to give some kind of password. Now if we see, all sheet level operations are disabled. Not only hiding and unhiding, adding a new sheet you cannot do. You cannot delete. See, suppose I have done this and kept it in a shared folder where a lot of people can access. can very well happen someone can delete a sheet and say you have not done anything on this. He can keep the file as it is. He can delete the sheet. So if I put a file level protection, that sheet, if I put a sheet level, workbook level protection, no sheet operation can be done. Sheet operation means not cell specific. Adding a sheet, deleting a sheet, renaming a sheet, moving a sheet, right? Or hiding, unhiding. These are the things. Sheet level. Sheet as a block. Sheets within a file. No operation. And even the movement cannot happen. Sheet 2 cannot come first. Sheet 1 cannot come second. Even those kind of things also cannot be done. But cell level operations I can still do. Because this sheet is not having the cell, the protect sheet. Whereas this is having protect sheet. So here I cannot make any modification. Except for those 2-3 places. Except for these 2-3 places, I cannot modify anywhere else. And how do I know which all can be modified? There is no indicator or anything. If I am putting my cursor and modifying here, it is giving me an error. So there is no mark also which says what can be modified. The better thing is put your cursor anywhere and simply do a tab. Tab will go only to those cells which can be modifiable. Wherever you are, it goes only to those locations. On a protected sheet, see if it is on this sheet, tab will go everywhere. Whereas on a protected sheet, wherever you are, tab will go only to those locations which you can edit. Right? So this is the second layer protection, where you are protecting the sheets within a file. And the third level is more like protect the whole file. Everything is confidential data. No application. In first two, you can still expose them as applications. Same thing. Same click on the same thing. It's a toggle. Protect structure and windows again. Give a password. Whatever you have given earlier. Now this becomes editable. You can do unhide and all that stuff. So with the sheet level as well as workbook level protection, you can expose your work as an application to the other party. You change the input, it will give the output. You can allow the other person to actually use it. Whereas in protecting a file, you are blocking the other person from using it altogether. It's like a complete confidential file. Only whosoever know the password, they can open the file. So that is the third level. That is the same for all Microsoft Office applications. It's not Excel specific. It's the same at Microsoft Office level. Where for that reason I'll go with here save as. When I do a save as, I simply do a save as to start with. Before I give some name for save as, here there is something, tools. Inside the tools I have general options. I go to these general options and then give a password. Password to open. And then save this file. Now let's see if I close this and I open the file now. It asks for a password. Until I give a correct password, it does not allow me to open it. So this is the file level protection. But even after I open, the sheet level protection, the workbook level protections which we have put, they will all be there. It's not that I have cracked at a file level, so everything is cracked. It's not the case. Only you are able to open the file now. Now the sheets are protected as it is. Now even if you see, after I have cracked that, I cannot do anything at a sheet level until I identify a sheet level password. And now you see all these are disabled. Alignments, formattings, all these are disabled on this sheet. You go and see, probably this is one thing, though this is visible, you cannot do any editing there also. Neither the fonts, nothing you can change. Even you go into the insert, everything is blocked. Page layout is open, which means you can take a printout. You can take a printout of the sheet. Formulas, you cannot use them. Nothing. Almost all the functions are blocked. Right? So you cannot do any of these activities on the sheet unless you do a unprotect sheet by giving a password to it. So I mean that's the way typically people work out any application which they are designing. They'll identify which are the input items which the people should be able to modify. They'll separate them from the calculation item. It's as good as saying like this: if this is the application I have to give to others, I'll say A to G, I'll make it modifiable. From H, I'll block it. Both in terms of formulas, right, and even editability. A to G is like getting the data from some other location. Instead of ICICI Bank, they want to get for Reliance Securities or something. They should be able to copy and paste the data. They'll get the whole output like this only. Even if I do some charts on this, some pivot tables on this, everything which I do, they'll get the whole output corresponding to that company. But they don't know how I got it. So they can use it as a black box. Give some input, get this output. But not know how we have got it. So that's the way the applications are exposed to the customers. So sometimes people say, no, because this data is in Excel, I can only show it to you at my place. I cannot email it because there's a lot of confidential stuff in that. But by doing these kind of protections, you can very well mail it to anyone because anyhow it cannot be exposed. Entire file, you do a uh, save as, you go to tools, general options, give a password to open. Again there itself you remove the password is removed. The same space.